I'm very glad Marc Birringer is here today to provide us with an overview. He is Professor of Nutritional Sciences at the University of Applied Sciences in Fulda. Welcome. And one of his core areas, I must say, of his research is food safety and risk assessment of new and novel foods. And so it is very good to have you here. You can use either these microphones or the hand mic, just as you like. We're glad to have you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for the nice introduction of my person. And I'm happy to be here. It's my first conference since 2 years, and I'm really happy to see you all face by face. And of course, you and the internet as well. Thank you for the invitation to the BFR and B4L joint meeting here in Berlin. And before I start my talk on superfoods and supplements, an overview, I will, of course, give you a broad overview and a brief overview, and the later talks will definitely go into more depth and understanding of the topics. So let me see if this is working. It is. So this is a brief content of my talk. So I will give an introduction on the definition of superfood and supplements, and also a brief introduction on the consumer awareness, the markets, and also then the media hype which is associated with superfoods. After that, I will, and thanks to Ana Afonso, I will go to the regulations and the marketing and show the differences. And as Ana Afonso already prepared you for the regulations, I don't have to go into details. Thank you so much. And then I will come up with some examples of superfoods and supplements. And in the end, I will go into the health benefit aspects of superfoods, and also the risks that are associated with some supplements and superfoods. So you see that there is a back and forth with the name superfood and supplement. So they belong, I think they belong together, at least when it comes to the market. In the end, I will focus your attention to another point, that is sustainability. I am a nutritionist, and I think we should get the name superfood back to good and healthy food. So, and I will end up with some personal conclusions. Yes, this is the definition you find, and already Anna showed you this definition of superfood. It's a nutrient-rich food considered to be especially beneficial for health and well-being. And I think, and I hope you agree, that all of our food should follow this definition. No matter if it is super or not, it should follow this definition. In the end, I will give you a personal definition on superfood. So what is known about superfood? When you go into the internet, you find a lot of stuff, related to superfood. It should be healthy. It is related with a diet, with a healthy diet. You find some associations in this cloud with superfood, but also people ask for evidence. So is it really healthy? What is the evidence, the scientific evidence behind that term superfood? The media hype is really strong. If you go to the newspaper, and these are online newspapers, I apologize for that, you find always the term superfood, and it's really hyped, not only here, but in the last years. It's hyped in the newspaper, but also a news. It's supposed to make you more beauty if you ingest superfood, of course, and reduce some wrinkles and stuff. So this is really a hype, and you have a lot of books, advisory books, cooking books, and also different things that are related to superfood. And of course, the social media play a very important role in the discussion when it comes to superfood and especially to supplements. Here I will show you the superfood post on Instagram, which is a bit old, but we are already at about 5 million posts on superfood hashtag. And of course, some special food stuff like avocado, green tea, or blueberry are already posted and associated with superfood. When it comes to local varieties like Spargel, Ingwer, Sauerkirsch, this is just below the digital noise in Instagram, so it's not really a good post. When it comes to ginger, it changed to 16 million, and if you put in the hashtag ginger, you will find not the food ginger, you will find red-haired woman, so therefore I think that's the reason why you find so many posts here on, on ginger. Okay, so it's really a hype, and I like to now come to the regulation. No, not so far. The consumer service that has been done on superfood. The question was on this survey in 2016-17, what does the consumer think if superfood is a short-lived trend or is it a long-term trend? And this, the consumer think it's a it's a short-lived trend compared to other trends like free of foods, like lactose or like gluten-free food stuff or vegan products. But I think, and obviously this conference is done because this is not a short-lived trend, it's more a long-term trend in the area of food trends. This is quite old, and I am happy that Marc Lohmann will later on go into details from the new study from the BFR on consumer choice and perception. And this is an old one, and interestingly, you see beetroot on place 2 behind ginger as a consumer choice of superfood. But as I said, Marc Lohmann will comment on that later in his talk. And last but not least, a short introduction into the market, where the superfood and the super drink global market, and also Dr. Hensel already mentioned this, big amount of money that is circulating around superfoods. In the US, we have a market share of about 20%, followed by Germany with 9%, and the United Kingdom and Canada with 6%. So these are also old numbers. I think there are new numbers, and maybe we will see the new numbers also here. Now, regulation. So food is regulated by and defined by the Codex Alimentarius worldwide or globally, and in the EU by the Basis Regulation 178/2002, as we heard. And beside this regulation, the normal food regulation, we have different other regulations that are aside or support this food regulation, like the organic food regulation or the food for specific groups with specific needs, like baby food, dietary food, but also food supplements. As we heard, genetically modified food is regulated, and also novel food. I don't want to go into the details here. And supported by that, we have different other regulations that are here, additives and flavorings, nutrition and health claims, we heard about that, and food labeling. And no, drugs are not food. But there's overlap between ingredients in the supplements and the drug regulation. And I put here the national drug regulations because there is an idea of a European drug regulation by the EMA, but it's still in local authorities. So this is regulated. And the other side is the marketing, which is actually not really regulated. It's not regulated. Although we have some terms like vegan food, regional food, and sustainable food, clean eating, and name it, we have very creative marketing on that side. that give the commercial labels for quality labels, for orientation for the consumer, but it's still not regulated. And the terms functional food, sports nutrition, pre-workout boosters, nootropics, adaptogens, nutraceuticals are parts of Ayurveda, botanicals, and superfoods are terms that you all know, but they are not regulated so far. But they belong to food and food supplements and novel food. So the food supplements is associated to these terms, and some of these supplements contain, on the other side, sometimes illegally, ingredients that belong to the drug regulation. And in the end, we have the novel food that also is associated with functional food, nutraceuticals, Ayurveda, botanicals, and superfood. And so there is a regulation, but using this term is free. There's no regulation on the terms, but the food is regulated. Okay, so what do we have? I don't want to go into the details, but you see there are a lot of food, superfoods, like fruits, and also grains, seeds, and roots that are used as superfood, and of course the leaves like moringa, wheatgrass. I mean, wheatgrass is not really exotic, but to drink wheatgrass could be. So moringa is exotic, but we have also some traditional ones like kale or spinach and green tea. These are the foods, and of course, I want to show you also supplements that are named superfoods. There's a slogan, get your greens and eat your greens. And this is one example of a superfood that I found in the internet, of course, at Amazon and others. And this is just one example. There are plenty of examples, and I'm sure we will see some other examples. So this is grüne Mutter, called grüne Mutter, which is quite expensive, but not the expensive one, 34 euros per 600 gram. And we have a freeze-dried powder from botanicals, from fruits, from vegetables, that are used to stir with water to get a smoothie-like drink. And what we find here is concentrates of some botanicals like alfalfa extract, and the literature is full of data on toxicological data on different extracts. Like this one contains the unnatural amino acid cannabanine. It can cause toxicity. We have a milk thistle extract with silicrystine, which can block the thyroid hormone receptor. Then we have grapefruit extract with 45% of naringin, which can cause drug-drug interactions by inhibition of cytochrome P450 enzymes. So this is one example. I don't want to go into details, but this is one example I found, and the most prominent I found was this one, AG1, which is Athletic Green 1, which is one of the most expensive ones. So you pay 107 euro for 1 month, and you get this package. And the interesting thing is, I'm a nutritionist, but I was not aware that we have 75 vitamins. I'm not sure if this is legal or not. I mean, we can discuss that later. But the definition of a vitamin, well, I count about 20. What else do we find is this list of content, and this is definitely a megadose supplement, which has biotin 1000%, vitamin B12 with 900%, and so on and so forth. So this is a megadose supplement. But it contains much more than that. It contains also botanicals. And again, we have here some extracts from Withania somnifera, also known as ashwagandha, and there are some literature that there is an interaction with the thyroid hormones, and also again the milk thistle extract, which also blocks the hormone uptake. So in combination, I think this is not really a good supplement for pregnant women because it could lead to abortion. One thing I want to mention is the amount. We have no idea of dosing of these single extracts within the supplement. We have the mixture, which is about 2.7 gram, and the stuff over there is about 7 gram. So we have a rough amount, but we have not a single dosing of a single extract. And that makes me kind of nervous, because what we also don't know is how do mixtures behave. Is there a risk assessment of mixtures? No, there's no risk assessment of mixtures. And this is really concerning. So, but these are just 2 examples I found by a really brief search on superfood supplements. And I come back to normal food. And my view is more a nutritional view, so I go back to the foods, and this comparison is done by Paula Kuchhäuser. She's also attending this conference, and she compared the fatty acids of exotic and of local food, and she did a good job, because you see that most of the local superfoods has similar amounts of ingredients that are associated with health benefits, like fatty acids, unsaturated fatty acids, protein, vitamin C, and some of our local foods are exceeding the foods that are known as superfood, like goji berries. And also this continues here with iron, with folate, and the anthocyanins. Acai berry is very well known for a high content of anthocyanins, but it's nothing against blackberries and wild cherries. I mean, this is the right time now to eat wild cherries if you want to get your anthocyanins. So, but these are just the ingredients, but what is the scientific evidence about the health claims, put it that way? I mean, not the health claims, you know, but the health claims. So what is it good for? And there are some good evidence for omega-3 fatty acids preventing cardiovascular diseases and acting as an anti-inflammatory agent. There's a good evidence. But we have also low evidence when it comes to anthocyanins and blood sugar lowering or preventing dementia. So the studies, I don't want to show all the studies here, but there are a lot of meta-studies that show that the single foodstuff is not really working, or sometimes there is a claim, and Ana Afonso also showed that walnuts have the claim to prevent cardiovascular diseases. Okay, so we have alternatives. We have food alternatives. That's the good news. Local alternatives that might give you some good, healthy nutrition, but there are also some risks. And here in the beginning of the food trends, we had this Ökotest done in Germany, and they found contaminations. Because the demand of superfood was so high, especially for exotic superfood, that there was not really a good control on the contaminations at that time. So it's getting better now, but still there was a big problem, definitely. The contaminations was not only pesticide, as you might imagine, but also polycyclic aromatics. There were microbial contaminations, mold and enterobacteria, mineral oils, insecticides, pesticides, heavy metals like cadmium, lead, and aflatoxin. So From 21 tested superfood powders, mainly organic, there were 12 getting the grade inadequate, and two products were withdrawn from the market. So that's the bad side of the superfood. And now just a few words on the sustainability. The agriculture in general accounts for about 15% of the total greenhouse gases, CO2 emissions we have, and the percentage of the preliminary work in agriculture is very high, so we have about 40%. Interestingly, the transport, which is here in light blue, is just a small amount here. And the most concerning one is this one, because here the consumer can do a lot of good things if it prevents, for example, food waste. So these are different studies, but they show roughly the same structure. And now I have I have a small quiz here. So we have carbon emissions from different fruits and vegetables in CO2 equivalents per kilogram. And of course, we have avocado, which is 1.3. We have banana and eggplant. And we have bell peppers and so on. Cabbage is 0.3, which is really good. And we have one candidate which has 8.9, which is comparable to schnitzel, to meat, which is very high. This is just plants. So what do you think is this candidate on number one? Any idea? What could it be? Not chia, no. Chia is in the same area than avocado. It's a typical German superfood. Already not in the shelves anymore. Yes, it's asparagus.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. I know you all like to eat asparagus. But that's the real bad guy. When it comes to CO2 emissions, but if you have a closer look at, for example, the transport routes, deforestation associated with the planting, contaminations with pesticides, water consumption, and food waste, then we have this candidate, which is definitely the bad guy, and it's not super. So, this was a brief overview, and I will end up with just a few personal conclusions. Conclusion number one, consumers recognize superfood as foodstuff with special, sometimes health-related properties. However, supplement suppliers hijack the term to promote their products. Get your greens. And we have to turn back this direction or this movement, I think. So marketing with the term of superfoods works well, and as a nutritionist, I asked the question, how can public health authorities or local farmers use the term to promote healthy, most plant-based, and regional food? And in the end, I will give my own definition on superfood. So superfood is a marketing term that is not regulated by food laws and describes expensive food and food supplements with mostly alleged health claims based on poor scientific evidence. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very, very much, Marc Birringer. We asked for a definition, now we have one.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.